Hi, and welcome to Shakespeare Sundays. I'm Ruth, I'm the secretary, and I'm going to be talking about the use of flowers in Shakespeare. Flowers have a lot of potential as symbols in literature. They're well known, varied and versatile, and have pre-existing meanings that would have been more well known in Elizabethan England than they are today. And Shakespeare makes full use of flowers in his plays and sonnets with a range of metaphors that often say a lot more than meets the eye. Perhaps the most famous flower quote in Shakespeare is Juliet's "What's in a name? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet." As a well-known symbol of romance, the rose obviously fits perfectly in a love speech, but it's also used here for Juliet to philosophise over the nature of names. She knows she shouldn't be in love with Romeo because he's a Capulet, so she tries to play down the significance of the name of Capulet by arguing that names just don't change the nature of the subject they describe. The rose smells sweet, regardless of what name we call it. Another flower that comes up a lot in Shakespeare's plays is the violet, which carries the more specific meaning of faithfulness. They're one of the flowers associated with Ophelia in Hamlet. After she dies, her brother Laertes declares, "May violet spring from her grave," lamenting what a faithful person she was, especially in her love to Hamlet. But Shakespeare doesn't just use flower symbolism to talk about love. Violets are also used as a symbol of political faithfulness in Richard II, but this time in an ironical way. When the Duke of York asks his son Emerl, "Who are the violets now that strew the green lap of the new-come spring?" the fact that he says who rather than which indicates that he's not talking about flowers at all, but people. In this case, the flatterers at the court who have come to celebrate the new-come spring of the reign of the new King Henry IV. The Duke is angry about the deposition of the previous King Richard, and the fact that some of the same people who were once his allies are now flattering his usurper. By referring to them as violets, he's actually being sarcastic, pointing out the absence of faithfulness in people who are willing to change their political allegiance to suit whoever happens to be in charge. As well as explicit references to flowers, Shakespeare also uses flower symbolism in some more obscure allusions. For instance, in Cymbeline, the funeral dirge sung for Imogen has the recurring line, "Golden lads and girls all must, as chimney sweepers, come to dust." Now, this wouldn't seem to refer to flowers at all, but chimney sweeper was in fact a Midlands colloquialism for a dandelion clock, probably because the seeds of a dandelion clock are a similar shape to a chimney sweeper's broom. So the lads and girls being golden can then be seen as a reference to the gold of a dandelion. So in this hidden metaphor, Shakespeare can be seen as comparing death to the inevitability of a flower blowing over. But as well as making use of the tradition of flower symbolism, Shakespeare also interrogates it a bit. When he has Lady Macbeth tell her husband to look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it, he uses the metaphor in quite a subversive way. Metaphors are usually used to reveal something about the thing they describe, but here the flower hides the serpent, the appearance hides the reality rather than revealing it. Shakespeare also interrogates the idea of metaphors as a whole with a flower metaphor in Sonnet 130. In the line, "I have seen roses damasked, red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks," the speaker is talking about their mistress, but actually saying that she isn't as beautiful as the symbol of a rose, to which women are so often compared. The sonnet actually concludes with the speaker saying, "I think my love as rare as any she, belied with faults compare." So in this sonnet, Shakespeare kind of suggests that romantic metaphors, like flower symbols, are in fact false compare, that belies the subject they describe. He sort of makes the point that any commonly used trope can lose its meaning over time and become tired and tokenistic. But despite this, Shakespeare did continue to use flower symbolism throughout his career, and some of his most loved speeches often contain references to flowers. But he still kind of uses the flowers in unusual and imaginative ways that aren't always what you might expect, so it's well worth looking out for. That's all for this week, but once again, this is just touching the surface. We look forward to posting another video next week, and in the meantime, stay home, stay safe, and look after yourselves.